So we've just been on a months-long journey of designing a monitoring and evaluation framework for our whole foundation that sits across all our grant programs. And what that's going to enable us to do is to monitor and report key metrics and indicators that's relevant to all of our programs, as well as some that are specific to unique programs. So we can see how things are tracking over time in terms of the work that we're delivering and what that's looking like. But importantly, it's also going to give us the ability to dig a bit deeper and understand what's working well in terms of the outcomes that our grants are achieving, what's not working so well and why. So looking at the outcomes that our grants are actually delivering for grantees, their participants, more broadly for their communities and for audiences of community media, and right up to impact for the Australian community as a whole. So our framework has three key components. First of all, before we measure anything, we did an outcomes framework, which is a bit like a theory of change, where we sat down with our stakeholders and we got really clear and documented what are the key outcomes that we actually try and support through our grants, and who the beneficiaries are and what that looks like for them. So once we had those outcomes clarified and mapped out, we then designed how we would measure those most important key outcomes that we think we're most able to influence. So the second component is the high-level design of our evaluation, which is a bit like a research design. So we looked at things like purpose and scope. Who do we need to monitor and evaluate for? What do we need to get out of it? So yes, demonstrating outcomes, that's great, but also learning and improvement for our organisation about how we could do things differently or better meet needs. And we developed some guiding evaluation questions. So 7 key questions that focus on what do we most need to find out. And 4 of those 7 are focused on outcomes and impact. So things like what are the outcomes of our grants and to what extent are they being achieved? What are the enablers and barriers to achieving those outcomes? How sustainable are those outcomes over time? And how could we improve those sorts of things? So those big picture questions then guide the third component, which is our data collection plan. So we've gone through and mapped all the data that we're already collecting, and put it beside those evaluation questions and basically filtered out things that weren't helping to answer those questions, so that all our data collection is really purposeful and really focused on answering those deeper questions about what is being achieved and how we could support more outcomes or extend those outcomes or help overcome any barriers to those outcomes. So a good outcome for a station is that the programming is being developed by and broadcast by people from that community, that we're increasing participation in media, that we're amplifying voices that are often underheard or underrepresented in mainstream media, and that by doing so we are contributing to diversity in the media as well, particularly in the space of drying up of independent news. Community radio and local radio has a huge role to play there as well, as in things like specialist music and arts and culture, and preserving culture and language as well. So all those kinds of outcomes are really based, I think, around participation and representation, and giving people the chance to do that. We're looking at a mix of qualitative and quantitative metrics, I think, to tell a really rich story. So looking at to what extent are outcomes being achieved, how many outcomes, how many grantees, that sort of thing. But then also, what's the flavour of those outcomes? What does that actually mean for people on the ground? How has that changed something for them, or how do they benefit from it? We've got data collection in place or about to roll out to better capture both the quantitative and the qualitative side.